Relative Phil, I suppose I could start my story here in Hell Hall, where all my marvelous plans were born from the darkness. But I'd rather start from the beginning, or at least close enough to give you an idea of what made me tick. Sure, you know the story of those puppies, those wretched Dalmatians, and their insipid owners, Roger and Anita. And I'm sure you even rooted for them to evade me. Me, that monster, the devil woman, and a fur coat. But don't I deserve a chance to tell my own side of the story? The real story. It is fabulous, after all. Behold, the story of me. Relative Phil. Tick-tock, darlings. We're going back in time to when I was a young girl of 11, living in my family's mansion. So prepare yourselves, dears, you're in for a wild ride. My mama, papa, and I lived in a grand house on Belgrave Square. It was large, lurid, and magnificent, an imposing home with 4 massive columns supporting a terrace that looked down on the square. Our community was tucked safely away from the common London ramble on the other side. We were on the proper side, surrounded by many sprawling parks, creating a world that seemed to belong to us alone. Of course, one could see the occasional servant polishing the brass on the front porches, or a nanny strolling in the park with her squealing charge. And there were the old women who sold violets on corners, and the little boys who sold the papers and delivered messages. But they were almost invisible, like wraiths. I hardly thought of them as people, to be honest. I called them non-people. To me, they almost seemed like ghosts. Well, of course, my own servants were very much alive. Most of them were like silent specters, popping in and out of view only when we needed them. They weren't real, or didn't seem so to me anyway. Not like Mama and Papa, not like me. Some of my servants seemed more real to me than others. The ones who were always in my view, the servants who weren't quiet servants, but something in between a servant and a member of my family. We shall get to them in good time. But oh, how I loved my Mama and Papa in our grand house in Belgravia, with its crystal chandeliers, lavish wallpapers, and shining wood floors covered in exotic rugs. And in a way, I even loved our ghost-like servants moving silently and systematically through the house, taking care of every whim, always there, always ready to do my bidding at the sound of a tinkling bell. The image of our grand house shines in my memory like a light, desperately trying to lead me back home again. If only I could stand within the safety of its walls once more, to live my days as gloriously as I did when I was a child, when everything was simple. There were so many splendid days in the house. They spin around in my memory, sometimes making me dizzy with homesickness, I spent most of my days with Miss Prickett, my governess, in the schoolroom. Miss Prickett had steered my education since I was old enough to learn how to read. She gave me lessons in French, watercolor painting, needlepoint, reading, and writing. Most girls in our social circles got their educations from their governess. Had I been a boy, I would have been sent off to boarding school where I would have learned all manner of subjects such as Greek mythology, history, and mathematics. Girls were expected to learn how to conduct themselves in a morning room. How to behave like proper young ladies. How to host splendid parties. Plan menus and direct conversations at dinner. And that too was part of the education I received from Miss Prickett. But she never said no if I expressed interest in a subject that wasn't reserved for young ladies. She encouraged my zeal for geography, for example, and let me devote as much time as I wanted to learning about the cultures and customs of different countries, because she knew I desperately wanted to travel the world when I was old enough to take such an adventure. Relatable. I have such fond memories of those days, but my favorite part of each day was when I would go down to the morning room with Miss Prickett to spend a blissful hour with my mama. 1 hour every day, entirely devoted to me. My mother's passion for exquisite clothes was unwavering. She was always beautifully dressed in the latest designs. No one could hold a candle to her, not even me. And you all know how stunning I am, don't you, dears? You've seen my photos in the papers. You know of my exploits and my relentless devotion to fashion, babes. Well, my dears, my mama was the same. She had an exciting, glamorous life, and she deserved it. She was the most beautiful and bewildering woman I ever met. She was a true lady. She didn't have to make time for me, as busy as she was, but she did. At the same time, each day right after my lessons with Miss Prickett, I would hold the image of my mama in my mind as I healed down our grand staircase, making my way from the schoolroom to the morning room. I had to will myself not to run down the stairs, to be a proper young lady, and to not squeal with delight because I was so excited to see my mama. After all, my schoolroom was new development. It had been recently converted from the nursery, which meant I was on my way to becoming a young lady. That's all I'm gonna read for y'all today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Bye bye, babies.